document analysis study is an in-depth review of documents. And I want to emphasize this again, of only documents. You wouldn't be looking at any videos or conversations with people such as interviews or stories, only documents. And there are many documents out there that can be reviewed as part of any type of research. The document analysis ends up being an interpretation of the documents in a wider scope. What you're looking to do is take the many documents and distill it down into what it means. And oftentimes you're looking for something more than is already there. The idea of a document analysis might be something lawyers use to find out what is written about something or has been produced about a certain topic or a certain person. Document analysis is not uncommon in doctoral dissertation research, but it's not also one of the more common research design and qualitative research. Some will suggest that by only looking at documents, it's not as significant or substantial in its findings, but again, it will determine how strong this analysis is based on the author's work. So it can be quite significant and substantial if conducted the correct way, as is the case with all research methods and designs. In a document analysis, we're really looking for exhaustive reviews of all related documents. Today, this is easier than ever before because of the internet. We can find thousands of items through an internet search. Oftentimes, an internet search will give you more than what you need and sometimes take people, when they're doing a document analysis, into areas that have nothing to do with their studies because they download so many documents. What's kind of known as overloading the information highway with things that may be related but not important. Trying to find out what's important will come from one's defining the problem and the gap in the literature. If you're using a document analysis or something other than a doctoral dissertation, then you still have to have some sort of boundaries or blinders on so that when you read a source of information, you know, does it apply or does it not apply? The document analysis, like most research, is designed to provide a greater collective meaning to the topic. If you really consider every different research design that I've addressed in this program and others that I'm not addressing here, but research in general is decided to be such a path for people that providing greater collective meaning to a topic is what the goal of research is. Research, of course, is something that we do to gain information, to produce recommendations and findings, and to take the greater amounts of information, synthesize them, then evaluate them, and analyze what we have to offer other people. The idea of a document analysis is much like we find in other qualitative research designs where the outcome is some sort of coding or theme generation. Coding and theme generation are pretty much the same, just depends on how deep you look at it. One would still do hand coding in their document analysis, often doing that from after reading one resource to the next resource to the next. Just like in doing interviews, one would do hand coding from one interview to the next. Hand coding can and should be done in a document analysis, keeping track of anything that's unique, that's repeated in the different documents that are looked at. The theme generation is really the outcome of a document analysis, much like it is in phenomenology or even a case study. You can use in vivo software, but mostly document analysis is done in manual work, meaning that software is only going to give you so much. And because you're going to be looking at many documents, you may not be looking and finding what you want to put in vivo, because in vivo will be more of a transcript. It's not to say you can't use in vivo software or any other related software that's going to produce findings for you from all the inputs that you put into the software, but it's been my experience that people will mostly do manual work. Now, doing mostly manual work might suggest some subjectivity to the outcome. That's expected. That is a limitation, and that is an assumption that we work with document analysis, like we find in every research design. We're going to find some aspect of subjectivity to it, and that's okay. That's part of what research is. You must have an extreme level of critical thinking to produce a document analysis outcome, because you have to be able to literally synthesize information. You have to take that synthesis, analyze it, and make some sort of evaluation. This is not an easy outcome. Sometimes a student who's working on a dissertation will suggest they want to do a document analysis, and usually there's two problems with that, with the initial onset of what a student wants to do. One, they do not have enough documents to be able to be applied, and they don't have the ability to be able to understand how they have to take hundreds or thousands of documents and produce it down into more easily easily understandable information for others to use. Literally, the idea of a document analysis is to create some sort of new meaning. It's easy to read one or two documents or reports and give some sort of generalized information from that. That's easy in the scope of doing a document analysis. When you have to take hundreds or thousands of different documents, it's not as easy as it sounds. It's much like doing the grounded theory research design. It sounds simple, but rarely can somebody do it well, particularly in a doctoral dissertation. But document analysis is similar in the sense that you're creating something new. Now, ideally, all research produces something new, or it extends the information from one location perhaps to another research population. But here in a document analysis, you don't really know exactly what you're going to find. And so therefore, it's creating some new ideas, some new meaning from the individual items that are the topic of each document that is analyzed. I think of document analysis in its outcome. Will it make others go, I never looked at it that way before? That's what we want to produce. It'll be that, I never expected that, because a document analysis is going to be one person, or it can actually be a team of researchers working together. There's nothing wrong with that either. We usually don't find that in a dissertation at an academic institution, but doing a document analysis for some other purpose is not uncommon to have more than one researcher or person specifically designed in that field of study. But think about it this way. The end result should be, wow, I never thought of that before. Not only from yourself, but from the audience who you're going to share this information with. This is why lawyers will find a document analysis research design important. We'll also find that doctors, medical researchers will use document analysis to look at all the documents that other doctors have written about or produced in their reports. In a document analysis, you really need faculty who are experts in this field. Not that any doctoral faculty member doesn't have the basic skills on how to do a synthesis or an analysis and evaluation, but what we find in a document analysis, because it's so specific with great attention to detail required, not all faculty have the expertise. You certainly wouldn't want to have a quantitative faculty expert doing or guiding research in a document analysis. This is tedious work. And not all faculty are trained and experts in everything. I'm certainly not, and I don't know any faculty member who is at a university. We all have our strengths, and we all have areas that we know more about than others. And that's why faculty at a university, there's so many with different skills so that they can put the right faculty with the students who are doing research, and it's a good match. The idea of a document analysis is to some extent something that supports or validates what's known. While it's creating something new, yes, it's also taking what's there in the past and adding more to it. It's taking what's already known and making it so that, wow, I never looked at it that way. I didn't see it this way before. So you're taking something that's already out there. Think about cancer research. On cancer research, yes, we want to overcome cancer, but we're not just starting cancer research today. Cancer research has been going on for years, decades. And so as cancer research continues on, a document analysis might produce something we've never seen before, but it's a derivative of all the information that's already there about cancer. Document analysis will, like most research, provide divergent view of what is accepted to be true. Oftentimes, research offers new information that is counter to everything that's already known. We can see this as early back as the early explorer days when somebody decided to go out and find out that the world was not flat. When they went sailing and they found out that the earth is round. There was a divergent view in that kind of perspective. Well, it's not uncommon to find that same kind of output here, where what you provide in the final recommendations or findings of a document analysis is a divergent view of what's accepted to be true. And this is why we often find lawyers and doctors using a document analysis successfully. Great for the creative mind, but also the logical one as well. And this goes back to the point I made about how some faculty are not always going to have the skill set for this, nor will some students. You have to have a great creative mind to be able to take what's there and maybe design some sort of concept map or a mind map of the information, and look first to be creative in the analysis section and then move the evaluation from the mind map or the concept map to something that's more linear, taking something that's creative and moving it to something that's more logical. Also, we might find that as one does their hand coding and producing of themes, perhaps through the outcome of in vivo software, that's only the first step. From there, they have to take that and take it to a creative aspect and look at how it can be applied, how it can create this new information. Some sources to consider for document analysis are public record, city, state, company, anywhere where there's public records that can be found either online or in buildings. And this is what is concerning to many students, as they don't want to go to other places and find records and files that's available. Oftentimes in a library, you might find these kind of documents in the old microfiche systems, and the only place that's available is in an actual library where you have to go to. And you might have to go to more than one library depending on the topic. This is where we start to see how exhaustive the research effort is, the review of all the documents to begin with. Books and articles by anyone. Doesn't necessarily mean if you're in an academic setting where it has to be peer reviewed. We're going to be looking at opinion articles, popular books. We're going to be looking at empirical research reports that are out there. And we're going to be looking at books from experts. And in today's world, it's a little bit different than it was 20, 30 years ago. Now we have the advent of ebooks. So we also want to look at different types of publications such as ebook that could be reviewed. Even a blog posting could be considered in a document analysis because it's a document. Peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed journal articles are acceptable in many types of academic research. For example, if you're going to do a case study or phenomenology, oftentimes they only want you to use peer-reviewed documents. That's not the case here in a document analysis because you want to look at the many different documents, not only certain qualified ones. Personal diaries, journals, notes, anything that's written or typed, if it's on a computer or in some sort of manuscript that may be found. Think of it this way. The document analysis research is and can be applied from any type of information that's documented on word type development, not audio. Artifacts, physical evidence. What kind of artifacts are available in the essence of physical evidence in these reports, in these journals? Oftentimes we might see scribing on a wall in a cave in certain types of research where we're looking at what happened hundreds or thousands of years ago. Well, if we can take a picture of it, we can see the words that are there, we might be able to use that as part of our document analysis. Electronic sources, as I already mentioned, blogs, emails, even social media postings. In today's modern world, we find that social media is prevalent, and what we can do is look at anything that's available in social media on personal websites. We can go to the personal postings inside things such as Facebook, maybe even LinkedIn, or could be Twitter, could be any of the others that are available. When to do a document analysis design. Some people, I understand what document analysis is, but when to do it? When should I even consider this type of design? What's been my experience is when you want to reflect some trends over time. This is why lawyers find this type of document analysis interesting, as do medical doctors, and to produce needed, rich, and thorough background information. When you really want to have a rich background and you want to display this or share it with others so people can see how did something come to be what it is today from the many different perspectives that are synthesized in the outcome of this document analysis. When interviewers will not produce needed information, oftentimes one will fall back on the concept of doing interviews or even emailing people different questions. That's basically the same as interviews, except it just happens to be not done in the verbal fashion. But a document analysis is often applied when talking with people just is not enough. And oftentimes when just doing the basic reviews of an organizational structure or documents that are available online is insufficient to be applied to the scope of work. Remember, the document analysis is a wide scope where perhaps a case study and phenomenology is very narrow, where interviews there are acceptable. Oftentimes, a document analysis will be applied to produce a new theory or refute on in-place theories. Now, producing a new theory might be something that's applied only in a grounded theory, but document analysis can also be used for that purpose, although how we do a document analysis and how we do grounded theory is separate and distinct in many different ways. And oftentimes we might find a theory, we want to refute it, something that's been in place for many years. With new information, we find something that refutes what others have believed to be true. In the case of a doctor or a lawyer, we find this all the time, where a document analysis others refutes what others tend to believe, and there are other applications for a document analysis. Depending on the scope and the situation, one should consider document analysis for doing their research.